talking trade rumors on today's video, and do you like it when we discuss various Bengals trade rumors, ideas, targets, candidates, etc.? If that is something you like, speak now or forever hold your peace by liking today's video for me. We begin with what Bleacher Report calls the dream trade scenario for the Cincinnati Bengals. It's acquiring Commanders defensive lineman Jonathan Allen. And there are many, many times that I get these Bleacher Report articles and I go and I see, that's a terrible idea. That's dumb. Why? That's a bad idea. This one is a really good idea for the Bengals. Allen was very good again last season for a bad football team. 53 tackles, 5.5 sacks, 10 TFLs on that front. Allen was productive. He was impactful, and he's been that caliber of player for a very long time in Washington. And there were reports mid-season that, you know what, maybe Allen doesn't want to be here if it's going to be a rebuild. And there were some heated moments at times on the sideline, and that's what happens when you're a bad football team. That wouldn't be a problem in Cincinnati. Allen can both pass rush and stop the run, and he would instantly be your best defensive tackle on the roster, even if you brought back DJ Reader. I'm a big fan of Reader. I like his game. I'd be a great fit alongside Allen. Allen's a better football player. I like BJ Hill. Allen's a better player. Now, the biggest issue here is, can you find a way to convince the Commanders to say, yes, I will go ahead and trade one of my best defensive players for what Bleacher Report said would be an early day 2 pick. Only the Bengals have is a second round pick. So it's got to be that idea or that trade value, so to speak. I am open to this idea. I would have some doubts whether the Commanders would be willing to do it, but with a new regime in place, if they want to kind of go younger, I am all for getting Allen. I would trade my second rounder, knowing how important that is. We'll talk the contract stuff as well here in a minute. But in general, would you trade for Jonathan Allen? Y for yes, N for no. It'll be today's pinned comment. And if you've been here long enough, you know what that means. It means there's probably going to be an ad here on YouTube based on when they put their ads. So ignore it. No one cares. Instead, head down to the pinned comment and vote. Y for yes, N for no. I'm all for it. Normally I poo-poo these trade ideas. I'm for this one. A second is a lot to give up for an organization that does know they need to have young impact players sprinkled in every single year for the next couple of years when they're being, aggressive with their contracts on offense, Chase, Burrow, etc. But I'm getting a great football player. And I want to win games now. It's a common thread on today's show, by the way. I'm getting an awesome, impact, talented football player who has not missed much time and is among the better, typical 3 techniques in the NFL. His sack numbers have dipped the past few seasons. The pressure rates have remained relatively stable, which I think is important. It's a better year-over-year factor. And remember, the Commanders have not been a good football team. You know what's hard to do? Get sacks on a football team that's losing games, because they're normally behind. And it means you don't get one early on, well, they're going to run the clock out on you a bunch, and that was especially true this past season. I think if he's on the Bengals, with the way they play football, he could approach double-digit sacks again and be an impactful run stopper for you as well, and a ridiculously wild upgrade over Zach Carter. You know what, I'll give the Commander Zachary Carter too. He's my throw-in on the trade. The contract here is doable for the Bengals. The Commanders would only save $9.5-ish million, 9.44 to be exact, with a trade on his $21 million cap hit. You will often see from some outlets saying, the new team owes the cap hit. No, they don't. They owe whatever cash is owed this upcoming season. So the Bengals' cost this year would be $15.5 million. That's a lot less than I'd have to pay probably to get, a Christian Wilkins on a per-year basis, or Justin Madubuike, hypothetically. Or, going out and trying to acquire a insert player here, top end if it's now. Maybe that's Nico Autry could even approach that figure potentially. Maybe a little bit less. $17 million. Suppose I could extend him if I wanted to and bring down those figures even more. So in the event he becomes available, yeah, that's a player I want to try to go out and acquire. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That link's going to be in the comments section and the description of today's show. I know there's not much NFL, really no NFL to have on Prize Picks. There's NBA is only just now set to get going again. College basketball is ongoing if you want to do some Xavier or Cincinnati potential picks there. Baseball is now available. I am doing the flex play here because the flex play is the way to go. I can still get one of these wrong and still come out on top. Ellie De La Cruz, the breakout year is going to happen, baby. Give me more than 30.5 stolen bases. He almost got there last year. More than 2.5 home runs from Ellie as well. And Hunter Green, more than strikeouts. And hopefully no foul balls that break his car window again. 189.5 on that front. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That link's going to be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Now, if you watch our Cowboys channel, that I also do, you saw us discuss this on that show as well. Worth mentioning here because it's the Bengals. Blogging the Boys, the Cowboys SB Nation outlet, suggested the Cowboys trade for Joe Mixon. Now, as the Cowboys reporters have said, no, it's a bad idea. As Bengals Breakdown hosts, yes, they should do that. Give me a draft pick for him. Don't get your hopes up. It's not going to happen. We mentioned the short today or on Wednesday about the looking at the idea of the Bengals going after cutting Joe Mixon from Paul Denner. We've had that conversation before. We'll have it again later on. No one's going to trade for Joe Mixon. There's just no way that happens. No one's trading for a replacement-ish level. I think you should be able to have 4.4 yards a carry. That should be your baseline for successful results in the NFL. Mixon is still a solid, impactful football player in short yardage, but it doesn't bring you the explosive plays I think this offense craves. And no one wants to pay $6.1 million when I don't know if Mixon would command that amount. Frankly, I don't think he would either. I think he'd get less than that. The cap hit's $8.85 million. You save $6.1 with a trade. Now, what you might be able to do is say, you know what, we will eat the roster bonus. We'll pay the $3 million due to him on March 18th, and you only have to pay $3 million. And that might be more in line with what Mixon's primed to get this upcoming offseason. Maybe he gets $4 million or maybe $5 million, whatever. Or maybe he does approach the $6 million figure. Either way, teams aren't going to trade and pay. Even if you only get a 7th round pick, who here wants to pay $3 million for a pick that might not make your team? That's not a route I want to go. So the money involved makes the question this. Do you cut him or do you keep him? We've had that conversation a bunch here on the channel. I don't necessarily want to dive in and rehash it again, so we will instead save it for later. We will have more free Bengals videos for you on trades, free agency, draft, combine coming up, by the way. We will be there for that. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV. All right, well, of course we're doing T. Higgins because that's how this always tends to go, doesn't it? Of note, Albert Breer said the Bengals could look to tag and trade T. Higgins. Now, let's break down what Breer wrote and what I think he meant by it. He said, of those tag candidates, I'd say Higgins and Burns, meaning Brian Burns of the Panthers, could be tag and trade candidates. In Burns' case, it's because he and the Panthers haven't been close on a long-term agreement in the last couple seasons. In Higgins' case, it's because the Bengals have a bigger deal for Jamar Chase on the horizon. Look, that's true. You're going to pay Chase more and really a lot more than what you potentially pay Higgins. I do believe he's speculating here. And this is a hypothetical. This could make sense as opposed to this is the path they will pursue. More on this in a little bit. I think letting Higgins walk is a terrible, no good idea. That's not going to happen this offseason. So what would you do with T. Higgins? Type in 1 for you would tag him, or type in 2 for you would trade him instead. Go vote in the comments section. Now, look, there are arguments here to justify why a tag and trade makes sense. And we've mentioned this before. I'll mention them again. Think about the cap savings you get. You free up $20-ish million to spend on a defensive tackle and an offensive tackle, maybe a cheap safety too. You get like 3 guys for that cost. You get more draft picks. You also then need a wide receiver. And it also adds the element of the unknown. How impactful is the new piece going to be? We know how good T. Higgins can be. And in the end, I want to win now. That is my goal. I want to win games and championships and conference championships and titles now. And T. Higgins helps me do that. He does. And the thing that there's a great piece again from Paul Downey of the Athletic. The Bengals trio, the Chase, Burrow, Higgins trio, when they were available together this year, relative to the rest of the NFL on a bigger sample size for the rest of the NFL, was the best offense in football. Those trio, when they were playing together, had the most yards per play. They were number 1 in success rate. They were number 2 in EPA per play. They were first in sack rate. They fixed that area. They were second in adjusted net yards per attempt, and they were first in yards per carry. The running game was better because it was those 3 guys out there. Now, it's a very small sample size. You only had that group for 121 snaps together. That's very small grouping right there. But when it was out there, it was the NFL's best offense. So if the worst case outcome is I run it back for one more year with those guys, that's a very viable idea.